There's always something that needs a little fixing on Farpoint Farms.
Hey guys, it's Eric here at Farpoint Farms. Check it out. Today I'll be replacing the radiator on my Kubota BX25d. This job is going to be the same for nearly all Kubota BX series tractors. There are some videos on the internet that make this look like it's going to take you most of your life to do, but I'm here to tell you that with a 10mm, a flat blade, and a Phillips head screwdriver, you can have this job done in well under an hour if you just follow the instructions I'm going to lay forth. First, I want to talk about this. This is the radiator itself. You can spend $400 or $500 and get one from Kubota. This came off of eBay and it arrived within 2 or 3 days, which is probably quicker than the Kubota dealership could have got it for me. And it didn't cost a whole lot. It was less than $100. I'm happy with the fact that this costs less than $100. If it lasts 5 years, I'm going to be even happier. And I think it will, because construction-wise, it appears to be about the same as what I'm about to take out. Now my radiator failed. One of the coils must have got a piece of debris caught and took a nick out of it, and it was steaming out all over the place, spraying stuff everywhere. Thankfully I did not damage the engine. You know, I didn't overheat it, but as long as you've got this, it does even come with a new cap and a new overflow hose, but I'll be reusing the original hose. The cap I will use. So let's do it. First thing I'm going to do to make this job easier and to show it to you, you can do it without doing this. I'm going to remove the front cowl altogether, just make it easier to get into and easier for you to see what I'm up to. It's not necessary, but it's also really easy to do on these. So let's head on over to the tractor and knock it out. Now I left the loader on mine. It certainly isn't, it's going to be a little bit in the way, but it's not a deal breaker. So if you have your loader on, you don't want to take it off, or snowplow or whatever, don't worry about that. The radiator is located here. First thing I'm going to do is just pop the hood if I can get it loose. There we go. Once I have that lifted up, it's a matter, well, there you go. That kind of broke completely off anyway, but there's 2 screws. One is going to be right here, and one's going to be right here. They're little plastic. You don't have to take them all the way off. You loosen it off, and when you do that, you're able to slide the cowl carefully forward and down out of the way. I'm just going to put mine on the ground. That exposes everything we need right here. And so I'm also going to go ahead and pull up this. Again, you don't need to do this, but it's going to give us just a little bit more space. That's our screen. If you haven't blown that out in a while, now's a good time to do that while you have it apart. And I'll move the camera in closer now, but what we're going to be doing is, in order to get this radiator, which sits right here, out, we're going to remove, we're not going to remove, we're going to unbolt the front air deflector, and we're just going to push that forward. That'll give us enough room to get to the 2 bolts and then slide the radiator up. Of course, we will have to take off the radiator hoses, and any coolant that's left in this we do need to drain out. Let me bring the camera closer in and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so the very first things I'm going to take loose are this right here and this right here, and then I'm going to take this loose right here and get it out of the way. Now I'm going to take you over to the other side and show you what I'm doing over there. You can see a little bit of damage. You might be able to see that. I'm not sure. It's kind of blocked by this, but there's a little chunk that got knocked out of my cooling shroud. That probably let something come in and hit that. So that's why I'm having to do this job today. All right, there we go. Now I'll switch over to the other side. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to release that. Then I'm going to lower the camera down a little bit so you can see it, but we're going to take the coolant reservoir off as well. That'll give us just enough clearance to get in there without having to remove the alternator, without having to remove anything else. Not the fan or the fan shroud is going to be the only thing we take off. We'll leave the fan in place, we'll leave the alternator in place. It really is going to simplify the whole project. You can see the whole unit's already ready to come forward. So the next thing I'm going to take loose is that right there, which is our upper radiator hose. Now I'm so low on coolant, no coolant should come out when I take this hose loose, but I will have to drain the rest of the coolant out when we get down on the bottom here. So you'll want to have a catch pan if you're doing this and your radiator is still full. Okay, no coolant comes out because this is empty. Now you can see we can pull this whole thing out quite a bit. Okay, Now I'm gonna lower the camera down a bit. Actually, it's just better if I move the angle here, but this is what's coming out next. First, you can't see it up here, but I'm gonna remove the overflow hose. That's right there. And you can see it just kind of goes down. And then I'm gonna take that bolt and that bolt out. That'll allow me to remove the coolant reservoir and give me all the room we need to get this radiator out. With those two bolts out of the way, there is a third one down the bottom, but we don't need to worry about that. We're just gonna pull it and kind of pull it off to the side a little bit. That's gonna give us just enough room to slide this back the additional way. And we are two things away from getting this out. We have to take this bolt and the other one on the other side. That's what's actually holding the radiator to the shroud. But we also have to take our lower hose off. So getting the lower hose off, not really something I can get on film, but it's just a Phillips head screwdriver. You're just gonna loosen up that clamp, pull the hose off. If there's any coolant in it, it's gonna come out rapidly. Let me do that now and we're ready to yank this thing out. Getting down to it. So I pulled the lower hose off, lost a little coolant. We got two bolts on each side and then this, and the other one right here, we'll go ahead and remove the air cleaner. And if it's been a while, this has only been 50 hours, but it's pretty dirty looking. I'm gonna blow that out, but yeah, I'll have to put that on my list of things to replace. Go ahead and take this off. Okay, now some models, this will be it. It just sits in there with rubber. This model has 4 bolts. The lower bolts are pretty accessible. Let me see if I can get the camera to see it. It's a little tight down in there, but it's, you can get your hand on it. I don't know, well, you can see it, but it's right there, right there. And with that out of the way, you should be able to roll this thing forward enough to pull it up and out. Let me back the camera up so y'all see it. There we go. There it is. That's all she wrote. So I will just go ahead now and switch over just these two pieces right here. That, oh, I don't want to lose all that coolant. That piece and that piece holds the screen in. You see what a great job the screen was doing. Swap those over and we'll be ready to go back in. Okay, so putting it back together is just as easy. I've transferred over this metal bracket. That bracket is what holds the dust shield in place, like to catch all the leaves and grass clippings and stuff. That faces towards the back. The front here has our upper and lower hose connections, and we're just gonna snake it back down in there. And that's all there is to it. The upper hose connection's already come through, so I'll go ahead and push the hose back onto there. And we're ready to start reattaching the brackets. Once you've got your shroud bolts back in place, the 2 upper, the 2 lower, and the little brackets that go with it, we can begin reattaching our air hose, our coolant expansion tank hose, our upper hose, our lower hose, and we can move our expansion tank back into place. So there you go. All your hoses are back on, your reservoir secured, your shroud is secured, the new radiator's installed. We still have to put our dust shield or our like debris shield on the back side back in place and install our front cover. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and take this thing and fill it up with 50-50 premix. It's just stuff I got at Walmart, Super Tech. And I'm actually going to make it 60-40, so I have some concentrated stuff I'll add to it at the very end. We'll top off our reservoir, we'll top off our radiator, we'll take it outside, we'll run it for a good while, make sure it gets up to operating temperature, make sure there's no other issues, and then we'll call this thing done. I'll put the cover back on and the dust shield back in after I'm sure no new leaks, no additional leaks. Told you this was an easy job. I wish I had taken off the front bucket. That would be the only thing. It would have made it easier for y'all to see what I was doing, and it would have made it a little easier here with the loader valves here to get into that corner. It would certainly have made it easier to actually do the job. So if you have the option of dropping the bucket, probably go ahead and do that if you're going to do this job at the house. But as you can see, even with the bucket on, not a very hard job at all. Let's continue. And that's it. I'll go ahead and fire it up, but we ran it for about 20-25 minutes. All the residual coolant burned off, and there's no new leaks, there's no fresh leaks, so I'm calling that a fix. You know, 3.5 hours is what they call for to do that job. Even with filming, it took less than an hour, and certainly a 10 millimeter and a flat blade screwdriver and a Phillips were all I needed to do this job, plus a funnel and some coolant. So certainly it's something you can do, and certainly it is something that will save you a fortune, not having to tow it to town and have it left at the Kubota dealership. Hope this video helped. If it did, maybe you'll think about liking and subscribing. And if you like automotive content, hey, check out Farpoint Farms Restorations and Repairs. It's my second channel, and that's all we do over there is repair work, mostly on cars, but sometimes we do go-karts, mini bikes, ATVs, and more. I'll see you over there. Take care.